Welcome back to the Burgh Breakdown. Thank you again so much for tuning into this episode. Pirates are, of course, the team of record right now in Pittsburgh. They are the only team in season, and that's the reason that they are typically going to be first on this show for the next couple of weeks. But I will say this: Pittsburgh Steelers now are just about 11 days from the day this comes out from showing up in Latrobe, Pennsylvania at training camp. I'm so excited for football season. I talked on Tuesday on the first episode that there are not many battles specifically for starting jobs. We talked about the right tackle battle and how Dylan Cook is the leader in the clubhouse, but Maxi Honachor could potentially catch up to him. We'll have to wait and see. But despite the fact that there's not many camp battles for starting roles, there are still plenty of storylines. I already mentioned Mike McCarthy on the first episode. We have the Joey Porter Jr. situation with his contract. What's going to happen with that? But to me, when you're looking on the field at training camp, you also have to specifically look for two players who are looking for a fresh start. Two players that were drafted in pretty significant spots that are still trying to get their career off the ground at the NFL level. Let's start with Caleb Johnson. He is in his second season after being a third-round pick in the 2025 NFL draft. But if you look back at what he did in his rookie season, he's essentially starting from scratch. New offensive coordinator, new head coach, and really a new opportunity for him to impress a coaching staff and get back onto the field, because he was not great as a rookie. And I think I might be saying it a little lightly. He only had 28 rushing attempts. A lot of that was because he couldn't get on the field behind guys like Jaylen Warren, who was having a good season, and Kenneth Gainwell, who ended up being the Steelers team MVP because he played so well that I don't even think the Steelers expected to get that much out of Kenneth Gainwell. But that matched with the fact that Caleb Johnson made some big mistakes early in the season. It was hard for him to see playing time. It was hard for him to build any momentum on Sundays because he couldn't get on the field. I mean, Mike Tomlin and Danny Smith, they tried to get him on the field by making him one of the kick returners, and then we saw what happened against the Seahawks. He botched it so bad that they potentially lost the game because of a play that he made where they could have, who knows, won a game against the eventual Super Bowl champions. So I look at Caleb Johnson, and it almost feels wrong to say, but it almost feels like it's do or die for him in just his second season in the National Football League. I mean, I don't think it's too early to say that. He was a third string last season. They lose Kenneth Gainwell because, like I said, he was miles better than anybody could have expected with the Steelers. And they immediately go out and replace Gainwell in the depth chart with Rico Dowdle, somebody who has a prior history with head coach Mike McCarthy. So going into this season, Caleb Johnson is in a very similar position that he was going into last season, where he's going to fight or have to fight for every opportunity that he gets, which is not going to be very much. Not only that, it doesn't feel like he's going to be battling for reps with Rico Dowdle, and Jaylen Warren. It feels like he's more going to be battling with Eli Heidenreich to be that number 3 running back on the roster. It feels like it's not him looking up, it's him fending off somebody that's coming in for the first time. And that's coming from a guy who was, a 7th round pick of the Pittsburgh Steelers in this previous draft. But you know what Eli Heidenreich does? He catches the football out of the backfield, which Caleb Johnson has not done well throughout his career, college or otherwise. And he plays special teams, which is going to be a big reason why Heidenreich's roster spot is probably more of a guarantee than Caleb Johnson holding on to that third running back spot. So it's a weird situation that this running back, who was touted as one of the best of a pretty good class coming into 2025 draft, is already potentially on the outs with his NFL organization, or at the very least, it feels that way. It feels like he needs to have a very impressive training camp to set the stage for a season that's not just another complete disaster for him. I still think that, and I said this when I was back on All Steelers Talk leading up to the draft that the Steelers took Caleb Johnson, he still feels like the prototypical Steelers running back. Like, he's big, he's burly, he can run physically, but he needs to be able to put all those tools together, and he needs to be able to do it a little bit quicker. I think that's the one thing that I took away overall when I watched him on the field. You take off Jaylen Warren, you take off Kenneth Gainwell, and it feels like you got so much slower at that position with Caleb Johnson. I understand he's never going to be as fleet of foot as a Jaylen Warren, but he needs to be able to kind of match the eye test of the speed of the NFL level. So that's one of the two players that I look at. I'm like, man, is it already do or die for him? And the other one technically is entering year 2, but realistically it's year 3, because Roman Wilson, while he did miss his entire rookie season with an injury, albeit he playing 5-10 snaps against the Las Vegas Raiders, he really didn't pick up any momentum. He really didn't make much of an impression. And then in year 2, he only played 33% of the snaps while being healthy all season long. Not only that, but he played 10 or fewer snaps in 5 of his 13 games played last year. It felt like early in the season, the Steelers were trying to build him up similar to how Mike Tomlin had built up rookies in the past. You get a couple opportunities early, and then once you succeed there, we'll give you more and more as the season goes on. They don't get thrown into the fire under Mike Tomlin in a lot of instances. Well, as time went on, it felt like Roman Wilson lost the trust of Aaron Rodgers. And that was kind of the kiss of death for Roman Wilson last season, because after that happened, after it felt like they just weren't on the same page for a couple weeks in a row, you saw the Steelers go out and get Adam Thielen. You saw the Steelers go out and get MVS. And all of a sudden, Roman Wilson was on the back burner again. He only had 4 receptions over the last 6 games of the 2025 season. So yeah, to say he's in a position where the new coaching staff helps, somebody with, I think, a more complete, more robust offensive scheme helps, because they'll probably know more of what to do with Roman Wilson. But at the same time, you're in a very crowded wide receiver room that has been as good as it's been in the past 5 years, probably more. You have DK Metcalf, who's going to lead the way similar to what he did last year. But now you have Michael Pittman, who is a bona fide number 2 receiver. Remember, going into last year, the question was, well, who's the 2 behind DK Metcalf? Is it Calvin Austin? Is it Roman Wilson? Is it Scotty Miller? There was a lot of opportunity for Roman Wilson to climb up and gain those wide receiver 2 opportunities. He wasn't able to do it. It's going to be that much harder when you show up to camp behind DK Metcalf and Michael Pittman Jr. Add on the fact that they just drafted Jeremy Bernard, who a lot of people are very excited about and probably enters camp in a lot of people's eyes as the number 3 receiver. It's going to be a tough hill to climb for Roman Wilson, not just to get on the field, but to be able to be the option when he is on the field. Because even when Roman Wilson is out there, there's going to be a DK Metcalf. There's likely going to be a Michael Pittman. How is he going to become the target for Aaron Rodgers? That's a huge question mark. And then that's without even mentioning Jaylen Warren out of the backfield, Rico Dowdle out of the backfield. How about Darnell Washington, who the Steelers just gave an extension to? It's going to be difficult for players that don't have a resume or don't have momentum to be able to make an impact in this offense right away. So Roman Wilson, the way he shows up to camp, is going to be very important, in my opinion, for what his future holds with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, of these 2 players, I have more faith in Roman Wilson. If you watched Roman Wilson in college, the way he was able to play should mesh with the way that Aaron Rodgers is playing the game as it currently stands. As a 40-year-old Rodgers, he should fit well. He should mesh well with Roman Wilson. I hope to see it, because I think there's talent in there. But anytime that the head coach that drafted you, that stuck his neck out for you, that wanted you, is no longer in that position, all of a sudden it is an audition all over again for a new head coach. And that could be a good thing because it's a fresh set of eyes. There's very little preconceived notions. Or it could be a bad thing because if you struggle, This guy has no emotional attachment to you. There's nothing that has his reputation on the stake with you or at stake because of you. So it's going to be a very interesting training camp for those two players, two young offensive players that had a lot of promise coming out of the NFL draft, but have just not been able to find any momentum with the Pittsburgh Steelers over the past couple of seasons for Roman Wilson and last season for Caleb Johnson.